Is the UK facing a financial crisis? To a superficial observer that is not quite observant, the economy of the United Kingdom deserves a clean bill of health. This likely is one of the reasons people are thronging to the country from Africa in search of a greener pasture. After all, there is nothing in the UK's immigration policy that indicates a bit that it's in any economic crisis. However, both national and international business news keep producing data and statistics showing that the UK financial crisis is neck-deep. These are from reputable organisations. If that is the case, the question is the UK facing a financial crisis, really? In our video today, we will take a broad look at figures and attempt to interpret them. Goldman Sachs forecast. The Wall Street giant Goldman Sachs, in its 2023 macro outlook, forecasts a 1.2% contraction in the UK real GDP. And for 2024, it will be a 0.9% expansion. Given that figure, it would be considerably below all other G10 major economies. Since there is a sharp fall in household living standards, which is weighing on activity, the UK contraction will be almost as deep as that of Russia in 2023. To put that expansion and contraction in context, the same financial organisation forecasts an expansion of 1% for the US in 2023 and 1.6% in 2024. However, its projection for the UK is below what it cites as a market consensus, sketching a 0.5% contraction in 2023 and a 1.1% expansion in 2024. In layman's language, some simple sense we can make of this is that in 2023, the UK economy will perform worse than the previous years and worse than several other countries. This will lead to an even further dip in household living standards. Goldman chief economist Jan Hatzius and his team came to the conclusion that the UK and the euro area, commonly called the Eurozone or EZ, are both already in a recession. EZ is a currency union of 20 member states of the EU that have adopted the euro as their main currency and sole legal tender, thus fully implementing EMU policies. The Eurozone and the UK have had to endure bigger and more drawn-out increases in household energy bills, capable of driving inflation to peaks higher than ever seen anywhere. The team continues by saying that subsequent inflation, in turn, is set to weigh on and pressurise real income, consumption and industrial production output. Insights from KPMG. The global network of professional consultancy firms providing tax, audit and advisory services, KPMG, also made its projection that agrees that all is presently not well with the UK economy. According to the projection, the UK real GDP will contract by 1.3% in 2023. This will occur amid a relatively shallow recession that will nonetheless be protracted. While recovery is projected for 2024, it will not be up to the size of the contraction, just a 0.2% recovery. The firm cited the squeeze on incomes as the main driver because higher inflation and interest rates will significantly curtail household purchasing power. As the Bank of England in December raised interest rates by 50 basis points to 3.5%, it looked to rein in inflation. KPMG forecast that the central bank will increase the bank rate to 4% during the first quarter of 2023, then observe things a bit as inflation gradually eases. Subsequently, according to one of its economists, the labour market will begin to deteriorate from the first half of 2023, while the unemployment rate will reach 5.6% by mid-2024. That will increase the number of unemployed people in the country to around 680,000. Yael Selfin, the firm's UK chief economist, said the spike in food and energy prices, coupled with higher overall inflation, had already reduced household purchasing power. He corroborated the assertion that the rising interest rates have added another headwind to growth. This, according to him, has exposed lower-income households to the mix of current price pressures because the most affected spending categories are largely necessities. Thus, households will have to rein in spending on discretionary items in response to the squeeze on their income. Once consumers cut back on spending, there will be a sharp reduction in non-essential categories of spending by those whose income has been gulped by costs of energy and food. From the OECD and OBR points of view, the Organisation for Economic Cooperation and Development, the OECD, has not ignored the UK financial crisis. It also forecasts that in the coming years, the country will lag significantly behind other developed nations despite facing some macroeconomic headwinds. That puts London's performance closer to Russia's than to the rest of the G7. And in the view of the UK Independent Office for Budget Responsibility, the OBR, the UK is facing its sharpest fall in the standard of living on record. The OBR did this last November, alongside Finance Minister Jeremy Hunt's budget statement. It forecasts that real household disposable income will fall by 4.3% in 2022 and 23, and that's a measure of living standards. ONS perspectives and NIESR warning. On February 2023, the Office for National Statistics, the ONR, released its figures which indicated that the UK only narrowly averted entering a recession in 2022, though it remains in a tight spot. If the country's economy had shrunk for 2 consecutive quarters, that would have been a recession. However, the ONS's first quarterly estimate shows that the country's economy neither grew nor contracted during the last 3 quarters of 2022, but had shrunk from July to December by 0.2%. Nevertheless, the National Institute of Economic and Social Research, the NIESR, has warned that 2023 will still feel like a recession for many in the country as the British population experiences the effects of the most severe crisis of cost of living that the country has ever seen, together with soaring inflation, borrowing costs and energy bills. Even if we don't have access to all these figures from the experts, what we see daily is proof that all is not well with the UK's economy. Homelessness and unemployment rates are soaring. The cost of living is also increasing. Prices are going up while incomes are dwindling. All this is adversely affecting the standard of living. But how did the country find itself here? The cause of the UK financial crisis. If you now agree that the country is in serious economic turbulence, you've got something to build further facts on in this video. Whatever your opinion is, however, please use the comment section to let us know after watching this video to the end. So what is the cause of all this mess in the nation's economy? It is traceable to the 50-day management of the country's finances by Liz Truss, though she inherited an already pressurised economy. She became a PM at a time the country was having it tough with the cost of living, the war in Ukraine and the lingering aftermath of the pandemic. Her decision to announce £105 billion, about $116 billion of tax cuts and spending increases, without explaining in detail how she intends to pay for it, raised concerns about soaring public debt. Now that the people no longer have confidence in the government's ability to pay its bills, questions were raised about the economic competencies of the new Prime Minister. Meanwhile, Truss became a Prime Minister under difficult circumstances as she didn't have clear majority support. However, she was welcome as a replacement for the ousted Boris Johnson, whose reputation was marred by scandals. Financial markets response. As a result of all these, the British pound fell to a record low against the US dollar in September, once dropping as low as $1.038 to £1, as investors bet against the pound. This was amidst the plans by Treasury Chief Kwasi Kwarteng to cut taxes by £45 billion, reduce red tape and promote investment to spur economic growth. He also announced that the government intends to borrow at least £60 billion to finance a plan that'll cap high energy prices for households and businesses. All these are targeted toward boosting economic growth to an average of 2.5% annually, which it hopes will increase tax revenue and make more money available for public services. This only triggered speculations as the Treasury Chief didn't provide any independent analysis which could give a clear indication of the impact of the plan on public finances and whether or not the government's goal was likely to be achieved. The fear is that the government would have to borrow to finance the package, pushing the public debt to unsustainable levels. It also feared that this decision to inject billions into the economy may fuel further inflation. Now, it is clear that yes, the UK is facing a financial crisis. What do you think is the cause and the way out? Please, what's your comment about this? Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.